Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to teach you everything I've learned over the last few years on how to catch Ono, also known as Wahoo, from a kayak. We're going to cover topics such as species information, where to find them, methods to catch them, tackle tips, how to fight them, how to fillet them, and how to cook them. Grab your popcorn, grab a snack, hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into it. Yeah, buddy. Ono are a sleek, fast, and powerful predatory fish found in tropical and subtropical oceans around the world. Ono are known for their incredible speed, capable of swimming up to 60 miles an hour, making them one of the fastest fish in the ocean. This speed, combined with their sharp teeth and streamlined torpedo-like bodies, makes them highly effective hunters that feed on smaller fish and squid. Ono can grow up to 8 feet long and weigh over 180 pounds, with the current world record tipping the scales at 184 pounds. What an absolute freaking unit. However, the vast majority we encounter are found within the 20 to 40 pound range. Their bodies are marked with striking blue and silver vertical stripes, giving them a metallic, almost iridescent appearance, a camouflage that blends perfectly with the open ocean. Ono are prized by sports fishermen around the globe for their blistering runs and delicious taste. Chefs praise these fish for their mild, firm, white flesh and can be served up multiple different ways. Funny enough, the word Ono in Hawaii actually means delicious, which is a rather fitting name for such an incredible fish. Unlike many ocean predators, Wahoo populations remain healthy and stable, thriving across tropical waters thanks to their wide distribution and rapid reproduction. From the deep Caribbean to the vast Pacific, the Wahoo stands as a symbol of the ocean's untamed grace, a creature that embodies both the thrill of the chase and the beauty of the sea itself. Ono are a pelagic species, meaning that they roam the open ocean in search for food and travel long distances and aren't necessarily confined to one specific reef patch like a lot of bottom species are. And they're not necessarily going to hang in one area for too long. However, even though they're a pelagic species and do roam around a lot, over the last few years, I have found several trends in areas where Ono like to hang out frequently, so I'm going to share those with you. First of all, let's talk about the different depth ranges that we need to be searching. From a kayak, I've caught them anywhere from 60 feet of water all the way up to over 600 feet of water. However, the vast majority of the Ono that I've caught have been within the 100 to 300 foot range. The first place to look is going to be your ledges, your drop-offs, your shelves. Any kind of structural abnormality that you see on your sonar is going to be a great starting point, and here's why. It all starts with the reef fish down below. You get large schools of bait fish in the middle to upper water columns, and all this commotion, all this habitat and life brings in larger predatory fish, aka your Ono. So how do you find these areas? Well, looking at your sonar graphs, you're going to want to look for tightly bunched lines which indicate a sharp drop-off. Any kind of contour extensions, you're going to have points, you're going to have drop-offs, you're going to have pinnacles, humps, divots. Any kind of drastic change in the contour lines is going to be a great indicator of these fish holding areas. The second place to check out is going to be around your bait piles. So when you're out there and you find that bait ball and you're catching opelu, you're catching a kule, make sure to throw one of those guys out as soon as you can, because with all that commotion, all the distress in the water, those predatory fish are either hanging around or not far off. A lot of times these predatory fish are looking for stragglers, they're looking for weak and wounded prey that hang outside of the bait pile. So by having one out early, and if he drifts away off that pile, that's going to set yourself up for success on catching a nice size Ono. The other zone that I've found Ono at before, it doesn't happen frequently, but when it does, oh man, is it ever a treat, and that gets my heart pumping. And that is floating debris, buoys, any kind of rubbish that's in the water that houses a small ecosystem. There's a damn good chance that you got predatory fish lurking around. Now we understand their different habitats and where to find them. Let's talk about the different methods used to catch them. The number one method to catch Ono from a kayak is definitely going to be trolling live bait. However, if you don't have live bait, I have heard of guys catching on dead bait, but these fish are so aggressive and so fast, and they thrive on hunting down healthy bait, so having a live fresh bait out there is going to give you the best chance of catching one. When it comes to live baiting, you pretty much have two options from a kayak. Number one would be using a slow troll. Given the fact that we can't really move that fast, we're not able to cover ground as quickly as a boat can. Usually when I'm trolling anywhere between 1 to 3 miles an hour, depending on the conditions. Still allows me to cover some ground, but like I said, we're not covering long distances like you can in a boat. The second option is to do a drift. So when you do find these fish holding areas, you're going to want to hang out around them, whether it be bait piles, ledges, etc. You want to set up a nice drift and allow that bait to swim freely. Ono typically hang out in the top 100 to 150 feet of the water column, so I typically run my live bait at the surface. Some people will attach a small weight and use it as a downrigger. I have heard of guys catching on a downrigger from a kayak, but all of my Ono, except for the one that I caught on the jig, have been at the surface. Sometimes though, when you are drifting, your Opelu will swim down, which gives you a little bit more depth variation, which can entice those Ono that are swimming deeper down in the water column to come up. The thing with live baiting is it all comes down to presentation, and there's so many different ways to do it. So I'm going to walk you through a couple. This is just my opinion, but it's based on past experience, and I want to save you the heartache. But if you want to target these fish successfully, you got to run wire. I was so stubborn and hated running wire for the longest time. I would continuously get cut off and get cut off. I landed my first Ono on the jig, but it just took me a long time to land my first Ono. Absolutely, you can get lucky and catch them on fluorocarbon, but the amount of times that I got cut off versus the amount of fish that I actually landed, I was much more successful when I chose to start running wire. I did get lucky a couple times. I'm not saying that you can't catch them on fluorocarbon. I managed to catch 2 by getting super lucky with the circle hook right in the corner of the mouth. But like I said, the odds are against you if you're running fluoro. It is a trade-off because obviously fluorocarbon or monofilament leader is much more stealthy than wire is, but the chances of you actually landing one on fluorocarbon or monofilament is much less than when you're using wire. So it is a trade-off. If you want to go stealthy, I would suggest using heavy fluorocarbon. We're talking well over 100 pounds here, but even that, if they get a good chomp on it, that's cutting like butter. This is the reason why I recommend using wire, because this is 200-pound fluorocarbon, and you can see how easily it chops through with the scissors. Now, you got to remember that Ono's mouths, the way that they're lined up, they overlap like scissors do. They don't just come together how a normal fish's jaws do, and their teeth are so razor sharp that even 200-pound fluorocarbon, if they get a good chomp on it, it's cutting right through. But with the stainless steel, you can see how much thinner it is in this situation. And with the scissors, I'm not able to cut through it. So that gives you that added protection. And one of the reasons why, if you want to put a lot of Ono in the boat, you got to run wire. Let's talk about the different types of wire and the pros and cons of each. First off, let's talk about single strand stainless steel or piano wire. The pros, it's very inexpensive. It's pretty easy to tie with a haywire twist. And it's very easy to find. I've seen this stuff at almost every single fishing store that I've ever been to. The cons, it's typically a single-use wire rig just because it kinks a lot easier and that weakens the strength of it. And it's not necessarily the most flexible compared to the other two. Next on the list is titanium. The pros, it's a lot thinner in comparison to multi-strand for the same breaking strength. It's more kink resistant and flexible than stainless steel, and it does also have some stretch to it. The cons, it is way more expensive than either single strand or multi-strand stainless steel wire, and it's not as readily available. It's hard to find in local stores. I usually have to end up buying this stuff online. You do also have to use crimps for titanium. Some titanium wire will say you can knot it, but to have the best secure hold, I definitely recommend using crimps. When it comes to crimps, whenever you're using wire, you always want to use single barrel. And whenever you're using heavy fluorocarbon or monofilament, you want to use double barrel sleeves. So crimping pliers and crimps is something you're going to need when using titanium, which also drives up the price. Your third option is going to be your multi-strand coated wire. The pros of this stuff is it's relatively inexpensive in comparison to titanium. It is knottable, it's very flexible and easy to find in stores, and it also comes and multiple different colors. And due to its flexibility, you're also going to be able to get multiple uses out of this stuff. The cons, it is a bit thicker just due to the multiple strands and the coating. The knots can sometimes slip, so if I'm using this stuff, I'm usually using crimps. So that's another thing that you got to keep in mind. When it comes to making your wire rigs, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Number one, you want to make sure that the lead wire that is above your first hook is long enough so that when the Ono bites, it doesn't break off and cut above your actual wire leader itself. A couple times when I first started, my lead wire was too short and the Ono would just engulf the entire bait and I would get cut off. So making sure that that's long enough is going to be imperative to landing more Ono. Number two is that making sure if you're running a stinger hook, that the distance between the first and second hook is long enough and sized correctly to the bait that you're using. Ideally, what you're looking for is enough play for the fish to swim freely without the back hook pulling him forward when you have full tension on your lead wire. So now that you've seen these three different options, it's up to you to choose which you prefer. They all have their pros, they all have their cons, but they all are effective at catching fish. I've caught fish on every single one of these rigs. I started with stainless, I've played around with titanium, and I've also used the multi-strand coated. So they all work, they all catch fish. It just depends what's in your budget, how you want to craft your rigs. There's a lot of options, a lot of variables in it. So pick which one you feel most confident in. The second method to catching Ono from a kayak is going to be my absolute favorite, jigging. The best chance at landing an Ono on a jig from a kayak is going to be jigging bait piles. When you see a huge bait ball rolling up on your sonar screen, you got to get jiggy with it. My favorite jigs to use when trying to target Ono are going to be long, slender jigs for two reasons. Number one, it's going to fall very quick and get down to the zone that you need to be in. And number two, longer jigs just have a bigger profile, which gives you more buffer room when the fish actually bites it. For example, if you're using a small, stubby little jig and the Ono were to bite that lure, there's a very good chance that he's going to swallow the whole thing and he's going to cut you right off. With longer profile jigs, you have a better chance of that fish biting towards the tail end of it and just grabbing the jig itself and avoid cutting you off completely. Alternatively, you could jig with a little wire trace or even wire assist hooks, but that's totally up to you. When I'm jigging through a bait pile, most of the time I'm ripping that thing as fast as I can to try and simulate a bait that's straight away from the pile so all those predators can focus on that single fish. A great way to think of Ono is as the 100-meter sprinters of the sea. They're extremely powerful, extremely explosive, extremely fast, which makes for an absolutely thrilling fight. So I'm going to walk you through a few key things to remember to avoid making these mistakes. Mistake number one, don't over-tighten your drag. I've seen this happen way too many times with fishermen where that reel starts dumping and they get nervous, so they up the drag thinking they're going to get spooled and pop, their line breaks. Like I said, these fish are extremely fast and explosive right off the bat, but they're not like a tuna. They can't maintain that heavy pressure for the entire fight. They have 1 to 2 really strong runs, and then they're toast. So when you see that line dumping, make sure you don't bump that drag up too much. Just let them run, let them do their thing. Mistake number two that I see often is not being ready to reel up that slack line. These fish are so incredibly fast and can turn on a dime. Oftentimes, they're going to turn back on you and start swimming towards you. And this is a situation where I've lost some fish because they just chew right through the line. So when you get slack line, it doesn't necessarily mean that that fish is gone. Reel up as fast as you possibly can and don't stop reeling until it gets tight. Having a high retrieval rate reel is really going to help you in this situation. I've had Ono fight in two completely different ways. Sometimes they just stay at the surface and they don't dive down whatsoever. And other times they dig down like a tuna and they stay down. So be prepared for both. When it comes to landing these fish, One thing to be mindful of is when you get them close to the boat, they do tend to circle around and go underneath your kayak. One thing that I do with all fish now is I pull out my pedal drive to eliminate the chance of the line getting wrapped around. When it comes to landing them with a kage or a gaff, be sure to aim for the head. These fish have such soft flesh that there's a good chance that either you're going to stab right through them and it's not going to stick, or you're going to tear right through their flesh. And you always want to preserve that meat, so make sure you aim for the head. As you're bringing these fish on board, you got to be extremely careful where you're aiming that head, because these things have incredibly sharp teeth. They don't just lock into each other, they actually overlap and slice like a pair of scissors. So you don't want these things anywhere near any body parts that you don't want to lose. When it comes to filleting Ono, they're pretty easy. They don't have thick scales, they don't have thick skin, the flesh is soft. It's pretty easy to just outline the fish, run your knife along its skeleton, and peel back those nice meaty fillets. I typically start off, outline the fish on both the top side and the belly side, and then I grab it from the bottom and slowly peel back as I pull off that fillet from the skeleton. Then I work from the underside, looking through the skeleton of the fish so I can see my knife running along its bones, and then I repeat the process and take off the second fillet. Once you got them all chopped up, you have so many options on how to cook this thing. Ono is such a good eating fish. It's good sashimi, poke, sushi, nigiri, seared, blackened, baked, fried, you name it. Any way you prepare this fish, it's going to be delicious. That's why it's such a sought after fish and one of my all-time favorites to target from the kayak. That about does it for today's video. I appreciate all of you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you learned something. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this video. If you want to see more of these educationals, you got to let me know in the comment section down below so I can make more of them for you. If you enjoyed the content, please hit that like and subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me out. And I just appreciate all the love and support. I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't skip leg day. Yeah, buddy.